I'd like to ask the Minister, what targets the Department and Board B have set for 2019 for live exports of cattle, especially those 6 months or greater, and the resources that will be put in place to achieve these targets. The Minister, in answering a previous question, has said about the huge financial pressure there is on beef farmers at the moment. And there has been a significant increase in costs incurred by farmers due to weather conditions, but the price that has been there since the middle of last year is totally unviable. And the only way we can put competition into the trade is with live exports. So I'd like to see what plans are in place to ensure that there is a significant number of cattle moved out of the country in the last 6 months of the year.
Thank you. Minister, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Deputy. Live exports are a critical part of Ireland's livestock industry. They play a significant role in stimulating price competition and providing an alternative market outlet for farmers. The Department facilitates this trade, recognising its critical importance to the agri-sector while ensuring that live animal exports meet the highest welfare standards. In 2018, total live exports of cattle increased by over 30% to 246,000 head compared to 2017. This represented a value of €110 million to the Irish economy, according to Board B. This growth trend has continued into 2019, with live exports of cattle totalling 163,000 up to the 28th of April. It's a 28% increase in the same period in 2018. My decision in 2017 to reduce the veterinary inspection fee payable on live export of calves less than 3 months of age from €480 to €120 has brought greater equity to the inspection fee regime. Since then, there has been continued growth in the export of calves, rising from 102,000 head in 2017 to 159,000 in 2018, a 56% increase. According to the most recent Board B figures for 2019, calf exports already stand at 123,000 head, with consignments to the Netherlands and Spain accounting for 50% and 31% of this trade, respectively. This increase in trade is also apparent with regard to the export of non-calves, weanling, stores and finished cattle, which are approximately 23% up on last year, according to Board B's most recent statistics. The live export of cattle is a commercial undertaking. Therefore, it is not appropriate for my department nor Board B to set targets. Rather, they seek to facilitate the industry by creating the market opportunities for the trade. Through the negotiation of new and revised health certificates, my department will continue to prioritise efforts to deepen existing markets and gain access to new third country markets. Just this week, my department hosted a visit by a Turkish technical team, including officials from the Ministry of Agriculture and ESK, which is the Turkish Meat and Milk Board. The objective of the visit was to conduct an on-site fact-finding mission to evaluate the technical aspects of live animal and germinal product exports from Ireland to Turkey. This is yet another welcome development as we seek to re-establish our live trade with Turkey. The visit by Turkish officials follows on from my meeting with my Turkish counterpart, Dr. Bekir Pakdemirli, Minister for Agriculture and Forestry, earlier this year. I also welcome the progress made on live exports to Algeria, arising from the technical meetings between my department.
That's a very long response. Can I ask you to hold until I again? Apologies, because I need to keep moving. Deputy Cahill.
Thank you. First of all, dear Minister, you mentioned welfare standards, and I'd just like to comment on the video that was on in the media in this current week. And the mistreatment of any animals is completely unacceptable. And it's absolutely essential that we keep the highest standards of welfare in our exports. And anyone that's found to be doing something different needs to face the full rigours of the law. Minister, the only possible way we can increase prices in the next 6 to 12 months is with increased live exports of cattle aged 6 months or over. And I'm disappointed that Board B haven't set targets for individual markets. You talked there about calf exports being up. Unfortunately, that's not keeping pace with the increase in dairy cow numbers. And we had 40,000 head of cattle killed per week since October. We're just not able to sell that product at a viable price. And the only way that those numbers can be reduced is with live exports. And I just don't accept that Board B shouldn't have targets for individual markets. And Minister, you have told us about different markets being opened. We've heard numerous markets being opened over the last 2-3 years. This market is open for live cattle and this market is open for live cattle. But the reality is there is no significant amount of cattle moving. And you said it's up 23%. Unfortunately, that is from an extremely low base, Minister. And unless we make a significant impact with an increase in live exports, we're going to face a depressed price for cattle for the very foreseeable future.
Thank you. Minister. Sorry, but I had to interrupt the last time.
I disagree with the idea that either the department or Bord Bia would set targets for live exports for any particular market. It is our job to facilitate it, but it is equally, and perhaps more importantly in the context of your opening remarks, it is equally our responsibility and our obligation to ensure that any of live exports are conducted to the highest welfare standards, bearing in mind that our standards are higher than the EU minimum standards. And I welcome the fact that you condemn the recent video of mistreatment, albeit in France, of Irish calves in a lairage facility. We did have a discussion, mind you, and the record will show what I had to say in respect of lairage facilities in Cherbourg previously, and I stand by that situation. We will not condone any. We will insist on the highest standards for animal welfare, and that is the fundamental role that the department has to play whilst opening the markets and allowing the industry to perform its commercial duties within a highly regulated space. And that's critically important to ensuring that this trade continues. Obviously, the more markets that are open, the better, but none of the markets will be opened to facilitate exports of live cattle at a reduced welfare standard. Because it's of such importance to the agri-economy and the value of it is over 100 million as confirmed by Bord Bia, it is imperative that all of the players in this industry operate to the highest welfare standards, and nothing less than that will be condoned or tolerated by the
comments,
department.
Deputy.
So, you know, I sat on Bord Bia myself for a number of years when I was in a previous role. And, you know, if a market is opened, there is targets set for the amount of tonnage of beef they would expect to sell there in any given period. And we have a crisis, Minister, and we have to move cattle out of this country. We have to reduce the amount of cattle that's available for slaughter in the next 6 to 12 months if we are to get a price. So I think the onus is on Bord Bia to set a target for the amount of cattle that they expect to be able to move live. And I would have concerns that there is not enough resources being put in place to establish those markets. Factories, you know, factories are very good at using Bord Bia, and that's the way it should be. I'm not condemning that, and we have, you know, factories. We have worked hard in securing routes to markets in different parts of the EU and across the world. But I would have serious concerns that the same emphasis isn't being put on the live export, and that live exports aren't getting a fair crack at the whip with the resources from Bord Bia. And it's, you know, we are in a situation where we have increased stock in the country, and the only way we can get is competition around the ringside. And the only way that can be done is with live exports. And I would like to see exactly how much resources Bord Bia are putting into this. And I do think, Minister, and I stress it again, we have to have a target for the amount of cattle that we expect to export live in the last 6 months of 2019.
Thank you very much. Final comment, Minister.
No, I fundamentally disagree. I think if a state agency or the department sets a target, then we're chasing a target, and the accusation will be that we're compromising on welfare. There will be no compromise on welfare standards, absolutely none. The department and Bord Bia have adequate resources. We have significantly increased the resources available to Bord Bia in recent years to deal with the Brexit challenge and the opportunities that are there. The market access unit in my own department, whether it is for processed beef or for live exports, we have restructured that endeavour. We are making significant progress. But bear in mind, we are ultimately engaging with competent authorities in other jurisdictions, and we take terms and conditions in terms of market access from those, whether it's about the age of the product that we can export or the epidemiological background of the herd from which that product comes from, a whole host of other terms and conditions which those competent authorities will insist upon. Obviously, we try to secure the most favourable trading relationships, but we are engaged with competent authorities of other jurisdictions. It would be entirely wrong of us in the area of live exports to have targets, because that would lead to the charge that we're chasing targets at the expense of standards, and there will be no diminution of standards on live exports.
Thank you very much.